Here you are. The letter V in Ukrainian means в землі, in the ground. Someone is doing stuff here. Every time you pass through those territories, you understand that you may not return from there. And this doesn't imply to some kind of bombing, shelling. It goes without saying. There are also Russian military, Kadyrovцы, Burats, who treat us very badly.
Yuriy is 32 years old. He was born and grew up in Donetsk. In 2013 he moved to Odessa. 2 years ago he settled in Bucha. The war found him there. From the very first day, the man began to help people get out of the hell itself. This is how his volunteering began.
First ones I took out were my acquaintances. Then I took out my mother, and the same way I took people out from the first day of the war. That's like the realities of war. Or it's very, very scary what they did here, bastards.
When the Kyiv region was liberated, he decided to save people in Mariupol. He learned about what was happening in the city from familiar volunteers. But what he saw with his own eyes shocked. Russian troops have turned Mariupol into ruins and the streets into a military training ground.
300 meters away from me, a tank drove out from behind the house, fired at the house, and then another tank drove out from the other house. I was not in the epicenter of hostilities, but I got into a tank battle and fled from there. An air bomb hit the house next to me.
Yuriy managed to take dozens of families to the territory controlled by Ukraine. He traveled to many parts of the city on foot. There were snipers in high-rise buildings. Russian tanks drove around the streets. Residential areas were shelled without ceasing.
Getting around the city by car is very difficult. There are several streets where you can drive. On these streets, as a rule, there are no fights. But in fact, you go to pick up people on foot, you leave the car somewhere, preferably in the field of view, because people there are in despair. If you leave it for a long time, then the gasoline will be drained and the wheels will be removed.
A few days ago, the volunteer learned that he would no longer be able to save people from Mariupol. The Russian invaders put him on the wanted list.
They called me a criminal in the territory not controlled by Ukraine. I'm accused of Article 321, Part 2 for espionage. I was informed about it. It provides for a death penalty, as I was told, so now I can write down and tell people what is happening there, because I can no longer enter those territories.
Now Yuriy is helping the Ukrainian army. He carries humanitarian cargo to the front line and brings our victory closer. Reported by Pavlo Shtelmach, Nadia Sukhorukova, UATV News.